Today for Project Blue, we're covering Rhinar. And Rhinar traditionally has been kind of kept under the heel of LSS in terms of design because the power is kind of weird. It's not a numerical advantage that you're normally getting over the opponent. So we covered KO recently on the channel, and KO just gives you like a might token plus the added benefit of smoothing out the deck, turning 5s into 6s and so on. But really just that easy +1 every single turn with the might token. It's kind of how you view the hero power. While Rhinar doesn't have any numerical advantages on the text box itself, removing blocking options from your opponent at random is a very powerful thing, and that's why it's kind of been kept a little bit on the lower end of the power spectrum. It'll come up in our gameplay today, but removing blocking options from the opponent when they otherwise could potentially live and send back a very well-sculpted hand, and just removing a lot of agency from them, especially in the end game where your opponents can randomly die and explode out of nowhere. It's like kind of a tricky thing to balance. But today for Rhinar, it's going to be pretty similar to the other brutes we've covered on the channel. The main difference here though is that we are leaning more into Intimidate and specifically discard effects. The main point of this deck, why you would play it, is you want to punish decks that want to block with a lot of cards, since you only have 20 health, so it's pretty easy to randomly remove all of your opponent's blocking cards and then just win the game out of nowhere. The main difference in how we're going to play this deck is, while we are running a lot of the traditional brute cards that we've already put into different decks on the channel, the main difference is we want more Intimidate effects, because we can play something like Barraging Beatdown, maybe play 2 of them, and then you can play something that discards, so that'd be Bare Fangs, Pulping, etc., Savage Feast, Wild Ride. And assuming you discard a 6, you're going to be intimidating that third card from your opponent, which means that they're only left with 1 blocking card. And if their arsenal is not a D-React, which is very uncommon in this format, there's only a couple D-Reacts that actually will see play in this format, you're going to get that extra +4, something like Barrage and Beatdown. So again, like a 0 for 4 that also removes a card from your opponent is just really good. In the end game, you can completely spike out the game out of nowhere. So like a really easy combo, right, would be like you play 2 Barrage and Beatdowns. You could pop your Monstrous Veil too, just to randomly draw and discard a new card. You can kind of lean into a little bit of RNG with this. A Monstrous Veil can either sometimes fix a hand that has all reds or a hand that doesn't have like a good threat in it. You can just fish a little bit if you want. But for instance, you could pop Monstrous Veil, discard something, play Bare Fangs, discard something, and before your opponent even has the opportunity to block, you've intimidated all 4 cards from them, right? So the Bare Fangs is coming in for 8 with an extra +8 from the 2 Barrage and Beatdowns you play. So you can present 16 and your opponent has 0 cards to block with. It's completely unblockable. So you can kind of see how Rhinar can get a little bit crazy out of nowhere. But other than that, it's really traditional brute stuff. We just have a little bit more discard fodder and a couple more Intimidate effects. So cards like High Roller, Clarion Bellow, and of course the Barrage and Beatdown Rainbow package. So that's the overall deck. We'll jump into some gameplay so you can see how you'd play this deck. So we're playing against Dromai. I think Dromai is probably a pretty easy game plan to understand as a brute. It's mainly just popping dragons and then sending remaining cards at face. Pretty simple game plan. Considering that she is pitching out on turn 1, we're probably just going to discard the Agile windup just to go into our turn with an agility token. The only thing that kind of scares me is the fact that there's a good likelihood we may end up not drawing a blue here. So that is a concern to me. If we don't draw blue, we're kind of priced into using a Bark Bone without blocking with it and entirely being dependent on the resources. Ideally, we would get a blue, and that way we could go barraging into pulping, and then maybe breaking it for claw. Passing on turn 1 is absolutely horrendous for us. The only nice thing though is that now we could potentially go pulping and then following up with claw into passing. So we can salvage this basically if we get a blue. But the blue is really dependent here. We do end up hitting a blue, so I guess we're rewarded for no reason at all. We'll go ahead and send this at her, and then the follow-up will be the claw at passing. No reason to pop any equipments here. We're perfectly on curve just to pitch this card into claw. We'll take care of the passing. Helps us get back on our main game plan here. And it's also pretty good because we're sending a lot of raw damage going second. I mean, this is a very strong combo, specifically barraging plus the pulping. There are very few D-Reacts in this format, so the likelihood that they'll be able to turn off the effect by blocking with the card from hand and arsenal is usually pretty low. It could be that she does have a D-React in arsenal though, we'll have to see. That's not the case, so Barraging Beatdown becomes a very powerful 0 for 4 that also messes with their hand a little bit for blocking. Probably gonna do the exact same thing we did last turn. It's just gonna be Barraging Beatdown into Bear Fangs. The only thing here though is they'll probably end up getting to keep 2 cards to block, and that probably means that the Barraging doesn't actually connect. We kind of need Barraging plus 3 Intimidates for it to be guaranteed as a hit. So we actually may consider either blocking with it or parking it in Arsenal. But the only problem is that because of the Bear Fangs, we can't really guarantee that we're going to be able to stick it in Arsenal. So it's not really a guarantee here. They play Vincerikai. Vincerikai is scary for any other deck, but not us, because we have the ability to pop every single dragon they have. I mean, it would be very statistically unlikely that we do not draw at least 1 popper per hand. So it looks like they know that, so they're just going to pass here. It's high risk and high reward here. So the reason I might want to use the headpiece is that if we use the headpiece and then the Bear Fangs, we can basically guarantee that they get 3 cards intimidated, assuming that we draw and discard a 6, and assuming that we draw and discard a 6 on the Bear Fangs. There are non-6s in this deck, like we're playing one right now, so it definitely can't happen. But I think this could be really explosive if things work out appropriately. We end up discarding the Bear Fangs. That's really bad. That was the 1 card we wanted to keep. Now we can think about if we want to use our beaten trackers here. I'm kind of leaning towards no. I think what we're probably going to end up doing, I think in this spot, is we're going to just send the Smash Instinct. It'll intimidate another card, so it's not the end of the world, but we're going to go ahead and intimidate another card from Drumline. This will come in for 10. No way to turn off the +4 from the Barraging, so we're going to connect for 7 here. And then we can think about keeping the Clash Fragility in hand for a guaranteed popper, or we can stick it in Arsenal as a 2 for 6. I think both are kind of viable, but I kind of don't see a reason to not just Arsenal it here. It's a good red, like 6 damage is a lot. We have 2 poppers in hand that we can block with, so it's not really a big concern. We even have Agile Windup, so we could actually potentially really go off if my opponent plays more passively because they're worried about a popper, which I think is pretty reasonable. But I just don't think there's really any way that they can play around it unless they want to stall the game out to find like Mirror Guy specifically or Chromai. It's just going to be kind of the same thing every single turn. Ideally, if we could keep everything here, we would just play Pack Hunt with an agility token and then follow up with Pulping, which would be pretty nuts for sure. All right, we'll see what my opponent wants to do. Do we want to let this go through? It's an interesting choice. So the thing I like about letting this thing go through is that we can potentially pop a more impactful dragon. I think the other 2 are probably higher priority targets right now to block. We can actually consider taking the Vincerikai and then maybe baiting the Dromai player into swinging the Vincerikai, or we can just stop the turn now. I think either one's like perfectly fine to do. I guess we'll just put a stop to the turn now. We're probably going to end up using our equipments on our next turn. That was why I was like, might as well block. The only thing is that we forgot to discard the Agile Windup. That's a little unfortunate. Well, actually, it doesn't matter because actually we can do something better actually. So we can discard the Agile Windup, intimidate off the Rhinar, and then we can send the Pulping. This will go at Dromai's face. It will discard a 6, so it's going to have Dominate. It's going to probably have Go again, unless if her Arsenal is another D-React. That definitely is bad, but she goes down to 2 cards, and then our follow-up is going to be popping the chest, and assuming we do not hit a 1, we'll be able to send 6 in the follow-up. So let's go ahead and roll some dice. We hit a 2. That's perfectly fine. That's all we needed. We'll go ahead and send 6 here, and statistically, she probably should be dead. We'll see if she has any kind of prevention effect in Arsenal. Doesn't look like it, so it looks like we score the game off of this. So yeah, we're just kind of playing slow, grindy setup. You can stack some agility tokens if you want. You can set up that 5-card hand, putting a card in Arsenal, trying to get Beaten Tracker's value. But you're kind of just playing like maybe 2 cards a turn, just like something with Go Again, Finisher, or like a card that requires you to discard, so then you can just use your Beaten Trackers, give it Go Again, and then do something else. Coming in for 4, we're going to go ahead and we're going to block with the Clashermite here. It's actually pretty good use case for it. We'll just go ahead and overblock because I kind of don't want 2 blues in hand, and something tells me we're probably not going to be doing much after this. My opponent actually manages to score on the Clash, which is crazy. If they send something, we're just going to completely block out. Like, this hand is not good, so we'll gladly give up the 6 here. Absolutely hilarious, so that we whiffed on the clash. We have some options. We have 2 Intimidates, but they can easily just keep 2 cards. I think if I were to bet on something, I think we probably just send the Bear Fangs. It's just like it's a clean 2-card 8. We could get greedy and stick the Barraging on it. Oh my god, and we discard a non-6. This is crazy. Okay, so the deck is not cooperating at all. I'm definitely interested to see how this game goes, considering that the Brute variance is doing a lot of damage here to us. So we'll put Pack Hunt in Arsenal. It's a good Arsenal to have. We draw 4 reds. This is great. This is really good. They get a Rapple for 5 off of our Might token that we gave them. We know they have a Snatch in hand, so I'm just not going to block. We're just going to use Clash plus like one of the equipment pieces, probably Barkbone Strapping. We can pop Barkbone and actually try to use Savage Feast with the Quicken token. So it's actually possible that we actually could do something pretty interesting on this turn. We just know that they have a Snatch, so it really kind of dictates how I'm going to block this turn. All right, I commit the Snatch. We'll go ahead and we'll block like this. Okay, whew, we were at least able to win that one. We know they have Chromite on top. That's good for us to know. We need to do a lot of damage on this turn because they're going to have an actual pivot that can fight through our poppers a little bit. So, and we know that we have another red on top. So we at least know Savage Feast will hit, but we know that we're drawing another red. That's pretty bad. We'll go ahead and use Barkbone here. We hit 2 resources. That's pretty good. We can actually consider just using the Monstrous Veil. I just really need to find something that's not a red here. So we'll actually go ahead and pop the headpiece. We end up discarding the Smash Instinct. I think that's fine. We probably could have considered blocking with the headpiece. I didn't know what the clash was going to be. If it was a blue, like I would never consider using the headpiece. So we're in a weird spot because of that. We have 1 Intimidate trigger, so that's good. We're hoping we're not going to hope for any particular discard, but if it were to be a discard, I would want it to be the Rawhide Rumble. We definitely want to keep pulping. So hopefully we can punch through a lot of damage. We hit a blue, absolutely fantastic. On curve, we can play both Pulping and the Pack Hunt. I actually think that depending on if my opponent blocks this card or not, I think we can actually sneak lethal on this turn. We'll have to work through the math real quick, but the Pulping discards a 6. I actually think they lose the game. Yep, you can see the math. I mean, the math is very clear now. So if we discard a 6 on the Pulping, they're going to lose their last blocking card. We'll have Go Again and 2 resources. We don't hit the 6 off the top, so they will get to live for the turn. But that was definitely a high risk for my opponent. Although a higher risk not blocking with this card because they are just dead if it's not an instant speed effect. 2 block, interesting. I guess maybe they were starved on Ash. They go to 1 here, so we are feeling pretty good. I mean, that was a pretty powerful turn that we got bailed out of, considering we started with 4 reds. So, Brute variance gives and takes. Pulping, if we hit a 6, is just lethal. Feels like a pretty straightforward play line for us. We'll have to take our 1 Arcane here. We have no AB. I didn't feel like it was necessary for the matchup, but we'll go ahead and pop this. And then we'll have basically a 50-50 to have lethal on the table or not. If we were to keep any card, we'll keep the Smash Instinct. We hit a 6, so should be lethal here. If we really wanted to, we can go ahead and break these for an action point. If the game is over, this doesn't matter, but if for some reason it's not, like if they go block, pitch to like Oasis, we at least have Claw to still make sure we win the game. So, pretty cool. Deck is definitely functioning on and off. You have some good push turns, but you can't really play aggro every single hand. Some hands you're just sending one thing and blocking out with 2 cards, and some hands you can kind of get a little bit lucky and chain things together. You can see how agility tokens kind of are the glue for the deck, especially like bean trackers. So it is consistent in the fact that you have bean trackers available to you. But that's a couple games, so hopefully that's helpful for you. Until next time, thank you for watching.